When you look back at Sunday's game, do you take the fact that you guys were good for 5% of the game, or do you kind of focus on that, 5% where you kind of let something get away?
Majority of my focus right now is on Baltimore. That's the beauty of having this press conference on Thursday. Thankfully, a lot of it's there's some carryover in terms schematically. They have a dominant inside rusher. Again, we got to do a good job with that, do better than we did last week. They have a dynamic quarterback, so second week in a row you're dealing with a dynamic quarterback. Really good coach, whether it's the head coach, the coordinator, they've really been successful in this league, been successful throughout their careers. And then the challenge of a really big physical offensive line that's Baltimore Ravens football. I mean, having been in the AFC a bulk of my career, we understand what that is. You got to be ready to go. They're going to bring a certain physicality, home opener. They got the personnel to do it. It's reflective of the city. It's reflective of ownership. It's reflective of the GM and how and also how Ozzie built it when he was the GM. So I mean, it's a great challenge this week.
You mentioned the importance of stopping the run, obviously, from having Derrick Henry and Lamar. What do you think you guys, as the Raiders, need to improve in terms of your run defense?
One, I got to do a better job coaching it. Again, success for half a game doesn't count in this league. So I got to do a better job coaching it. Got to do a better job with the calls, make sure that we're putting the guys in the right spot. And then for the players, like they always do, they're trying to get better each day, and we got to just work on the fundamentals. Run game comes down to force, knock back, getting off blocks, being gap sound, and that's stuff that we've been working on all week. And everything's a learning. You got to learn as you go, and we'll be better for it.
Patrick, Lamar is a guy that if you're not gap sound, he's going to
be gap sound and still be a problem.
Correct. But I mean, if you're not gap sound, it's just almost impossible.
Yes.
I'm just curious. Adam Butler is very respected as a guy who's terrific at staying in the gap. How important is a guy like him, and all of your guys, but this week especially, just staying in their lane and not letting your eyes deceive you?
Defensive football is about assignment football, and especially when you're dealing with someone as dynamic as him, on top of the receivers they have, who get involved in the run game, who also are options in terms of run RPOs, and then you take on top of that the backs. We're going to talk about 22 in terms of Derrick Henry, but Hill is the real deal. I'm always excited to see players how they came up and having success. His entry into the second level, he's as sudden as anybody I've seen in the league. His ability to catch the ball, and just to answer your question, we got to do a great job of keeping their offense in the shoot. We got to do that, and the shoot is starting with the edges, but it's also gap integrity on the inside, and that's going to be huge this week because there's a bunch of home run hitters out there on the field.
Following up on that, how important is it? Maybe you don't get as many sacks, but to keep that edge so he's not on the outside doing something. How critical is that?
The thing that jumps off the tape to me, when three guys are past them, you're asking for it's bad news. If three guys rush past them, it's bad news. Again, however you want to talk about the rush, keep them in front of you. at some point we're gonna have to rush the edge at some point, but if three guys are past him, if you just go through the tape, explosive plays throughout his career, that's you're asking for disaster right there.
You guys played Charles and Janarius a lot last week. It seems like that'll be the case going forward, maybe with some injuries. What's your message to those guys getting some of the most playing time in their careers?
Get better every week, and just again, it starts in practice. The thing that Charles did a good job yesterday in practice. Made sure I pointed it out to the group. Physicality is what I wanted to make sure I saw from him. He showed it in training camp. So he was on the practice squad, and then he got moved up because he showed that. And it's about the physicality of the game at that position before you get to the pass rush. Because if we don't have good edges, it doesn't matter. So for those guys moving forward, just keep focusing on that. Focus on setting a good edge, playing with your hands, playing with your hands out in front of your eyes, making sure that you're controlling your block. And we'll get to the pass rush stuff later.
You used a lot of five-man fronts last week. Seemed like more than maybe you typically did last year. What do you think that adds to the defense when you guys kind of go down?
You guys know my history. I grew up five-man front. So for me, it's whatever we think is best for that week. You know, fortunately for, I think, our D-line and linebackers, I'm an old D-line linebacker coach, so if I had my choice every week, we play 10 different fronts. I don't do that, but that's where you know I love to play around with the front a little bit, put stress on the whole line, put some stress in terms of the communication between the quarterback and the whole line. But we'll do what we think is best for that week. You know, so this week could it be the same? I don't know, but there's a little bit more 11 personnel from these guys on early down, 12 personnel that plays like 11. So who knows? We'll see how it plays out.
You talked about tinkering, and that's kind of what you do best. When you go up against matchups like this with the elite talent, is that just make your job more fun because it allows you to experiment and do some things and try to maybe fool them?
I mean, I'm a competitor. Don't get me wrong. I love to compete, but I'd rather not be going against Lamar Jackson. No, I'm joking. But no, it's always fun. I mean, going to Baltimore is going to be fun. I remember that environment. Last time I was there, I was with the Giants. You know, I think it was the COVID year, so it wasn't as many people. But I remember back in the days of New England, it's a tough environment. It's definitely going to be a football environment, and they play football the right way. And you know, we want to play football the right way, and it's going to be fun. They got good players, they got good coaches. The fans are wild and crazy. I'm looking forward to it. The players are looking forward to it. So, you know, you gotta get ready.
So last two, looking at them.
Seemed like Lance played well in the last game. What's the key for him to get better and better from since last year even until now?
You know, Spill is a very focused individual. He does a good job of consuming the game plan and then consuming the coaching points in terms of the scouting report and being able to play ahead with anticipation. So for him to play fast, it's probably because he's able to decipher what the play is even before snap, or anticipate what the play is before snap, and then once the ball is snapped, reading his keys to decipher what they're doing. So that's probably the evolution of him playing well. And you know, it's not like he wasn't doing it before, but you know, with experience, you get more reps, you get more looks at it, stuff happens quicker for you. That's probably what's happening.
But we think this, when you're going against a guy like Lamar, how hard is it to find somebody to simulate him and maybe do it with a scout team?
The beautiful thing about the NFL, they're all the best athletes in the world, you know, for the most part in terms of football. So, you know, whether you use somebody on offense, somebody on defense, we got fast guys on the team too. Now, it's not going to be Lamar Jackson, I understand that, but if you're trying to simulate the speed, trying to simulate that a little bit, you know, we got plenty of guys that utilize on our team.
Who's been the best Lamar so far?
That's Lamar.
On practice.
Yeah, he said 2 questions.
Thank you, Patrick.
Thank you.